The weSpeak study team understands the role of various stakeholders and the importance of a holistic approach to engagement to ensure successful outcomes and deliverables for the African, Caribbean, and Black communities ACB in Ontario. The fourth episode of the weSpeak podcast will focus on engaging community stakeholders to strengthen ACB heterosexual men's resilience to HIV in Ontario. Hello, and thank you for staying with us for the weSpeak podcast. I'm Joy Usiagu, your host. In this fourth episode, Charles Oswode and Andre Herriot, project research assistants for the weSpeak study, will give insights into outcomes with community stakeholders. The concept mapping approach of the weSpeak study contributed to the positive outcomes for further guidance in conceptualizing the implementation framework as observed by Herriot and Oswode. In addition, you'll hear the stories from sessions with community collaborators told by the two research assistants. Andre Herod says the dominant issues for community members and leaders were funding and targeted community programs for heterosexual ACB men.
One of the things that really resonated when we spoke to community stakeholders was this idea of lack of investment in Black communities, particularly when it comes to, healthcare, when it comes to, HIV prevention. A lot of stakeholders spoke about, crime and gang violence as being quote unquote hot topics when it comes to the issues that receive funding. But when it comes to sexual health, particularly among Black communities, the funding's not there. A lot of stakeholders and community organizations have to scramble for funding, compete for funding because there's just not enough there. And I think it plays into a lot of the stereotypes people already have of Black communities. These ideas that, we brought this on ourselves, you know what I mean? That Black communities are reckless, Black communities don't care about their health. So why should we even invest money into them? And I think these stereotypes and myths are dispelled when we look at the work that has come out of weSpeak, because Black communities care about their health. Clearly, Black men care about their health. It's important that people recognize that. And I think weSpeak did a beautiful job communicating that truth. And that's what we're calling for: more deliberate investment, more funding, more education. That came up as well. A lot of the Black men spoke about, not being educated about sexual health when they were younger, and maybe some of them experiencing that education in schools, but the education was very much fear-based rather than I think more a holistic approach or a wellness-based approach. It was more so, don't do this because you don't want to contract HIV, or don't do this because this is dangerous. And some men spoke about that being, effective for them, but I think we need to move beyond this fear-based strategy of sharing information around sexual health and move to a more, wellness-based strategy.
Charles Oswode talks about the importance of sustainability on HIV-related issues and representation from the ACB communities.
The more the focus was taken away from HIV to other health problems like cancer or diabetes or all of these things, our community is being left behind, right? And so we need to keep, pushing policymakers. We need to keep pushing governments across all levels. So even though weSpeak focused on Ontario, the province, there's a need to push across, municipal governments, the provincial government, federal government, so that this focus is still kept on HIV. Because if we ever had to lose that focus, our community would be much more impacted. We don't have enough targeted programming, right? And I remember the young men, they'll tell us that sometimes when they go to say community health centers or sexual health clinics, they didn't see enough of people who look like them. And so representation matters. because they felt that whenever they went in and they didn't see enough people who looked like them, it made them not want to come back again. So while there are programs that exist, increasing the representations of those programs, but in addition to that, creating spaces where heterosexual Black men can come together and have community dialogues about problems that happen in their lives, including health problems. So you're involving the community. You're making it in a way that's democratizing the conversation so that the men are also leading some of these initiatives. And when you do it that way, there's a greater possibility for you to have sustainability because people have a buy-in into these programs. And also, when they leave, they don't just leave the spaces and leave the conversations there. They can take it back into the community. They can take it back to their families. They can take it back to their schools. They can take it back to their children and continue these conversations, right? There's the continuity of care and conversation.
Andre Herod lends his voice to the value of representation in the ACB communities.
Black men, Black community members need to feel reflected and represented within these programs, right? And particularly, I remember having conversation with Black men like in their 20s, and a lot of them spoke about the work we have to make it culturally relevant, culturally responsive as well. So it's not about just coming in and preaching about sexual health, about HIV prevention. That might not be the most effective way to engage the community around this topic, but we have to do it in a way that's meaningful. We have to consider the interests of the people living in the community. Doing things like having big events, like going to places of worship, etc. That's really, really important for us. Thinking about creative ways to engage the community, and also thinking about creative ways of sharing the findings as well. And that's something we're really, really intentional about. Thinking about the diverse ways we can disseminate this information, because at the end of the day, if the information is not getting back to the communities, it's kind of pointless, right? The point is for it to get back to the communities in ways that are accessible to them. So we're thinking of not just maybe presenting the work in the form of academic papers, but looking at community reports, looking at these podcast conversations, thinking about media, film, etc. These are really, really important things that we need to consider. Heterosexual Black men in their 20s are going to need something completely different from heterosexual Black men maybe in their 50s, right? And that's something that we are really, really intentional about as well. Just thinking about the different demographics, the different age groups, and seeing what the different people need, but also thinking about how we can bring these diverse groups into one setting, right, and having intergenerational conversations.
A critical aspect of the conversation was the role of faith-based leaders in projects of value in the community, such as the weSpeak study.
Through this project, we see how faith-based leaders were really able to engage their communities and to really challenge HIV stigma. The Black Praise project, I think, does a great job of that. So Black Praise was pretty much a project in, I think, in the GTA and in Ottawa,
Ottawa, right?
involving 6 churches. And I think over 170 participants, really thinking through how faith-based leaders can contribute to the dismantling of HIV stigma, and also spreading awareness and education among their congregations, right? So what this looked like was a project in which booklets and pamphlets were created that had information around HIV knowledge, HIV prevention strategies, and that was shared with members of the congregation. It also included like sermons from pastors that were rooted in like social justice. And then finally, video series that was shared with members of the congregation that had people living with HIV talking about HIV stigma and the impacts that it had on their lives. And from Black Praise, it was found that many people actually, their HIV stigma actually reduced and their knowledge around HIV increased.
If you really want to have the most impact when it comes to like community-based research or HIV or health, really, you have to go meet people where they are. Faith organizations are one of those places. So I really think that in the same way that the barbers have been so pivotal to acting as that medium between the research and the message, faith leaders can play that same role as well. So Andre gave an example of Black Praise, which was a study that really involved faith leaders and used them to as a vessel to communicate that message to their congregants. It can be a way to take, a topic such as HIV, which people often, or sex or sexuality, which people often talk about in the shadows, in the whispers, breaking the barriers, breaking the stigma against that. The fact that blackface happened, that's an amazing thing to begin with, right? When last did you hear about like a pastor, a person of faith, or an imam talking about sex, sexuality, HIV? When last did you hear about that?
What kind of conversations are you having about HIV? Are you challenging and interrupting when people are spreading misinformation when it comes to HIV? Are you learning yourself? Are you doing that research, right? So I think when it comes to the scope of weSpeak, when it comes to like HIV education, like that work can, definitely continue in the app, even though funding I think is absolutely necessary. I'm just thinking about the small ways, as Charles said, that we all can, contribute to the work, whether that's at our dinner tables, in our homes, in schools, wherever we work, right? And oftentimes people have this assumption that people living with HIV are dangerous and they're going around and infecting other people, etc.
Mm.
So I do my best to really interrupt those conversations, and I think it's our hope with weSpeak and through with the support of other community organizations that we continue to disrupt HIV stigma, because we've seen firsthand how it impacts those living with HIV.
For the team, weSpeak was a study anchored on love for Ontario's ACB communities.
We can talk about policy and funding and advocacy and gathering conversations, barbers and all of that, which is really important. But I truly think that the uniting element in all this, the thread line that runs all across it is love, right? Black men, we love each other, right? I love my brother. I love Andre.
I love you too, man.
Yes, yes, yes. So we love each other. We love our families. We love our women. We love our children. We love our elders. If you love somebody and something is affecting them, you wanna change it, right? You wanna see one way you can help them, and that's how really all of this started. So we speak, um, and this project and all of us here and all our findings is rooted in love. We want to take the love that we have for one another and we want to use it to bring change. And this change may come in different ways. It may come through policy, it may come through the conversations that we have with one another. It may come, in just having these conversations in our own, spaces as the families and friends. As we go through the world, we're going to share it with the people who will come across and to the upcoming generation, to the young Black women and men. Who would come across in our lives, and just like that, the work will continue.
There was so much to this project, and it was very fulfilling because I guess, as I said, I learned so much along the way. I learned a lot about HIV. I learned about HIV prevention. I learned about what does it mean to be a Black male in this society. I continue to learn about that, even though I am a Black male living, like hearing from other Black men, hearing their experiences. Confident that the work will continue, and I really hope that people see the value in this work and to see that it's really needed and it's necessary. And we don't want this to be a one-off. We want the work to continue. just as I was hearing Charles speak, I just really thought I wanted to, just thank all the, the Black men who engaged
Yeah.
in this work with us, who trusted us to share their stories. You know what I mean? I think that was so beautiful, and I'm grateful to have been able to sit with so many Black men from different walks of life, to hear their experiences, to hear their challenges, to see points of similarities and dissimilarities. So I just want to really thank all those Black men for engaging in this work. And I want to thank all the service providers, all the the barbershop owners that gave us space. You know what I mean, to conduct this study. It was very, very much appreciated. And yeah, as I said, like the work continues,
Mm.
and we're in this together.
Including the people who fed us with Jamaican patties.
Yes, the Jamaican patties.
weSpeak research is funded by the Ontario HIV Treatment Network and the Canadian Institutes of Health Research.